Hi there, gallery members and new viewers alike. Thanks for tuning in for this latest edition of Gridiron Gallery. If you haven't seen my channel before up until this point with new videos, recommend you like this one and subscribe for more. We got plenty of content on all your favorite football leagues. And for those gallery members out there, thank you as always for tuning in. Really can't appreciate you enough. Now, on to the show. Join me today on the Gridiron Gallery podcast. I have two special guests, two that have been on a similar team in similar situations, are part of the international football community. On one side of my screen somewhere, as we are doing this edit later, I have Devion Young, defensive back and receiver for the Rzeszów Lokomotives currently. He's also played in the Polish leagues as well. And on one of my other parts of the screen, I have Zac Saleski, who is coached in said leagues and has been in the international scene and has also been a player in different parts of the world. Guys, welcome in. Thanks for taking the opportunity to join the show. Really appreciate it. It's been an interesting few weeks, at least talking international ball and kind of getting some eyes opened. If we're talking on our community, at least on Twitter, even on Instagram. I guess I'll lead off with this. You guys may have seen it already. For those that don't know, Amari Williams, who's a defensive back for the Frankfurt Galaxy, kind of has been showing some insider iffy situations on the living conditions just with the Galaxy, former Frankfurt Universe, who went to the European League of Football, which then led into conversations like with yourself, Devion, kind of saying that there's other stories out there we might not know, and some people aren't as daring to reveal said stories. Can you elaborate? Like, it feels like there's a lot of stuff lately coming up on just the treatment of exported players going outside of the country.
Yeah, man, it's really like a touchy subject to talk about, but it's also very astonishing how a lot of things get swept under the rug, and it's like next man up. And a lot of people, I'm not sure if a lot of people actually face the same thing, but there's a lot of situations that aren't talked about within the overseas community that should be addressed. Like, just treating the play, like you said, just treating the players like, fair and like, just doing things the right way. And a lot of the times, a lot of things just kept quiet, and like, you just dilly-dallying about your, like, just moving on without like saying a word about it. And sometimes those things will come back and like, haunt those people that end up putting the player in that situation. So I really don't know how to explain why people keep stuff like this quiet, but I do understand that a lot of people don't want to be blackballed and whatnot towards other leagues and whatnot. So it's an emotional thing to talk about, honestly. And I mean, I don't blame Amari for what he did. I mean, it's when I saw the video, man, that was, man.
It's something, and it's a two-parter as well. Like that's what's kind of crazy. There's that much content between both these housing conditions, which are really disturbing, with molding at least walls. We've got chip paint. The bathroom scene in that one of those videos was disgusting.
Man, that steam coming from the train.
Yeah.
What? I couldn't believe that.
I know. And that's it's just really saddening to see. It was saddening to hear about it, but when you get the video, it was that much more like I was kind of ticked off just as a fan of like that league in particular. Just because I've been championing it. I like the product on the field, but I hate hearing, and especially like insurance issues and trying to, have some players play for like some parts of it that maybe they were originally promised, and like housing conditions. It's disturbing to me,
Very.
Your product needs to be treated well. Why are you doing that to the people that make you, well, at least should be helping make the product look nice and help you make a profit eventually? I just don't get that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds like that. I hate to say it, but like I said, you guys kind of, and again, I know touchy-ish, but it sounds like at least Devion, it's every club is different. Is that?
Yeah, every club is very different. Yeah.
is that more like it's like they treat it as like a club first, not professional second, or I mean, is it just vary by the professionalism and maybe the budgets? Like, what do
It's
you make?
kind of it's kind of what you just hit on right here. Like, you know, they try to make it professional. Like a lot of organizations, to each its own. Like they're professional organizations. Like some smaller clubs do business the right way more than, you know, bigger clubs. You know, that's just how I like, you know, I saw certain businesses and whatnot. Like when it comes to the sports. But you basically hit the nail right on that second point. You know, it's dressed, some things are dressed as professionalism when in reality is not. I mean, at the end of the day, overseas football is amateur football. You know,
Mm-hmm.
teams just try to go about business the right way and whatnot. But in my honest opinion, it's a dress up a lot of places, but that's not all. That's not the case. Like I know Verswell Panthers are head to toe, you know, nothing to hide. You know, they're just
Right.
professional all over. So to each his own. But some do it the right way, but a lot of them, you know, don't. So
Interesting. I guess that I just find that I know amateur, obviously that label, I think alone you can get away with some things. At
yeah.
least that's where I can tell. I mean, Zach, what have you noticed with like stuff like that? I mean, you kind of have the coaching perspective a little bit, so I am assuming it's slightly different than say a player. You know, more interactions with like main personnel off the side.
It kind of goes both ways, really, and Devion has probably more of a inside like focus on some of those key areas. You know, for coach's standpoint, it's very much a simple kind of like external outlook because, you know, obviously we're in the office going through all their stuff, and my main focus really is on the imports. So if there's something wrong with the imports, we got to relay that to presidents and whoever the board members are, and whether that actually gets done or not by the board members, that's a whole different debacle, and that depends on the teams, really. That's like Devion said, you know, each country's different, each club is different, so it really kind of depends on what kind of club you go to.
That's fair. I know. I from what I can tell, at least the leagues I've talked to, it's like most of them have board committees and all that, and you know it's kind of a split up. You know, like I said, the amateur part, it's like you have part of it that's coming in. You are just it's almost like you're paying in as like a service for someone, you know, to join these teams. And you know, you have the international players that are like for the competitive edge. We bring them in, and then it also helps our status as a club to help bring those maybe locally in, is how I see it. So
definitely,
Right.
you know, it's just weird that like, you know, if you're an import brought in that way and you're supposed to help in that local sense, and then you also don't get what you need. I hate seeing that, I guess.
it's very important. Like whenever you get to a new country, you know, I always tell the board members, you got to give these guys about 2 weeks for them to settle in with culture and just, you know, their surroundings and get them acclimated. So it's a lot of times too, it's guys go through the first week usually homesick to some degree, and then you got to settle in, and from there you know, any sort of issues you got to take care of, usually take care of within that kind of that time frame. But it's sad to see stuff like that happen, especially to, you know, a brand new league, let alone like the, you know, the champions too. It's a whole different ball game too.
Yeah. What is there any resources that you can like go to, like say a constant complaint, something that keeps happening team based, they don't keep listening to you? Is there like any system outside, like maybe IFAF or something that you can like have a report to? Like what do you just deal with it?
See, sometimes people say they're reporting to IFAF, but the IFAF is, I mean, and just from what I know, I don't know if this is true, but just from what I know, I really don't know if the IFAF is really taking action of a lot of issues that go on in the league. But there is no, and this is just because of the development of football and like the structure of the teams and organizations and leagues that they're like building towards. There are hardly any federations in some of these leagues, and like players, and there are no type of players union whatsoever. But because there are a lack of federations in a lot of places, it's kind of tough. It's, you know, you just got to take it under the chin sometimes, but it's unfair. But you know, I feel like some situations, like, you know, what happened to me, you just got to take it under the chin and just move on. But also, you can't just sweep it under the rug, because I mean, again, you don't, no, like just being around somebody like me, and not saying I'm well known in the overseas community, but knowing a lot of people and players, you don't want to see them in the same situation too. So it's very hard to just go with it and deal with it while you can. But most of the times, for me, I just make the best of the opportunities that I have and the time I have, because again, I'm a huge guy with time management. I don't like my time to be wasted or messed with. So any locker room distractions, I just leave it until it's the right time to address it. So again, there is no type of federations to just report or handle those situations. And it's crazy, because we're really at a point in a situation where we have to start shifting towards that model, because there's too much stuff that teams are getting away with.
Right. Now, I know you two, I've talked to people that have been in the international community that have been much longer than yourselves. I know, Zach, you've been in for about 2 years, I understand. Devion, this is your 3rd year, if I remember right, at least going across the pond here to a league. I mean, is it growing to that point where I assume the complaints obviously can justify, but is it growing to that point where it's like, okay, we need to start thinking about that? It's like, say, the ELF helps push that narrative, or, maybe some leagues are like, okay, we've had enough is enough type of things, like we just had a few weeks ago,
See, the ELF has to step in first, in my opinion, because that's the top tier 1 structure that everyone's looking at as of right now in Europe. So the moment they take that first step, then everybody else will start to follow. It's just like Big Brother is gonna do this, the little brother is gonna pay attention. And not just saying the ELF is the best level. I mean, because we don't know as of yet what it's gonna bring in the near future, but just as of right now, that's the main attraction. That's where the traffic is when it comes to the viewerships and the money in Europe, as for European American football as of right now. So I feel like when it comes to that, they're gonna have to start taking that first step, because these other leagues, they're gonna look after their players first. Just like an American's gonna stick up for the import's gonna stick up for the imports. The place that it happened, those domestics are gonna stick up for their guys. So ELF is definitely going to have to do something first.
It's well, I mean, this past year was my 4th year. Just want to let you know that. But
my bad.
You're good.
My bad.
You got offended. Oh my god!
I know. Devion been over.
No,
I already.
I did it wrong.
16.
Going overseas.
Man. No, they honestly, they kind of piggyback off Devion a little bit, but from my side a little bit, it's I think when I got into going overseas, it was a totally different game. It was a totally different mindset, because I swear to this day, ELF has changed absolutely everything. I think, and you're gonna start seeing that with the all the domestic leagues over there. They, because of the professionalism, or depending on what you want to call it, they're fine as the professionalism, after what happened. But ELF across the board has really streamlined profits and the type of players and everything. That's pushing a lot of pressure right onto the domestic leagues. And at least from my end, recruiting completely changed after ELF came in. You're seeing a lot more domestic coaches taking over these domestic leagues. You're seeing a lot more local players kind of become more of a factor. It's top to bottom is different, but that being said, I mean, ELF needs to step in. They need to create some sort of quality control management of some sort and make sure this stuff doesn't happen, because I've seen in my first year and last year and numerous other years where there's little things that can be fixed, but kind of falls on deaf ears sometimes, because we're Americans.
Right. Yeah, right. I mean, it's kind of, the sport that we are known for pretty much, we took influences, but we created it in our country for the most part, or, in North America at least. And, it's not as popular across that board. And then, our country is most popular to have players imported from for those areas, because, most of us are trained to play the game from youth and are specializing in it. And not everyone over there knows the sport either, but it's growing.
It is.
You can tell it's growing
very quickly. And it's kind of getting to a point, and my first year in Germany, I'd never realized this, but someone said to me, is like, there's over 250 teams in Germany with 7 different, promotion relegation levels. So it's only going to keep growing at the pace of whatever it's going to keep growing at. Who knows? That kind of varies by country, but ELF is really kind of sped up the whole process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've actually had a former player that has told me in direct messages that I won't name. He has basically said that, yeah, this will, if it goes correctly, will make club teams become their feeder systems. Yeah. And I know that there's at least in Germany, that was a very bitter battle going into the season about just pulling teams and resources and having that thrown and kind of flipped on its head a little bit for some squads, but
definitely,
the direction keeps going that way, and you start wondering about that. And then the clubs, though amateur, if the teams start becoming superseded by the ELF, which is supposed to be their ground, where's that lead to them? And then, it's feeding into the professional side, and then you got to start thinking about the professional side a bit more.
Yeah, for real.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It kind of a tumbling, I don't know, snowball effect. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Just kind of snowballs into that opposite direction. But I mean, I guess I'm glad to get your guys' perspective on that. Cause I know looking into this, I know the international committees have they've tried doing what the ELF was doing in the past, and, they've had their own squabbles and who's controlling what. And, I mean, for Christ's sake, the IFAF, we want to talk about them. They pushed USA Football out for certain claims on some of their players coming over, and that messes its own thing. So it feels like some organization needs to, I credit the IFAF as back under a unified group, but it still feels like there's not enough organization just from those things happening that can leave the door open to happen again. Just a little, who wants what,
basically,
to put it lightly, maybe. Yeah, but I hope things improve. I hope that's the case. What is, I guess, to you guys, what would be, what's more, what should be more secured? I guess I know that for priority, would you say you'd rather make sure that the health insurance angle or the health aspects, like paying insurance, like some of those complaints, are addressed first, or the housing aspect where it's I'm not being thrown into, some terrible low grade place just so I can get shoveled off to go play my sport, since I'm just over here and they have the control of that.
Your health is always going to be number one priority, or
right.
In my opinion, it should be your number one priority. Yeah. Because I mean, they can put you in a hotel, if something's wrong, and then they can put you somewhere else. Because I mean, that's where we were. That's where me and Zach and basically the imports were in Silesia. When I wasn't living with my girlfriend, that's where we was most of the time. But it's definitely health. Definitely the health, like the insurance, because I know my 2020 COVID season, I didn't have not a lick of insurance. Because I don't want to say it was lack of money, because honestly, the team had enough money, but okay. I don't know what happened. But when it came to the insurance, coach, the head coach at the time, not Zach, but the first head coach had gotten sick or whatever. I don't know if he got COVID during the time, but he got poisoned or something. He ate, I don't know, food poison. And then his wife ended up breaking her foot, ended up falling down a step. So you laughing. Heck, you go to hell.
No, I know
you go to hell.
Listen, y'all been talking about this dang story so many times.
Oh man. But but yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But nah, man. And I guess because that happened, it's there was no money left, because I guess medical in Poland is expensive for some reason. It's 2,000 zloty. I don't know how. I don't know, but that's just I guess this is what it is, but it may be more. But she had to have surgery. So all of that expense, all of that like insurance or whatever money for the import players, it might have been mine. I don't know.
Mhm.
But thank God I didn't get hurt. But I think that's where that like my insurance went, was to the coach and his wife, because it's like, you know, but players had to buy their own insurance, and sometimes players can't buy their own insurance. We had two Eastern European guys having to pay their insurance, and it was like, okay, since it's cheap, that's fine with them because they were Ukraine. But I'm American, so I don't have coverage, from state to another country and stuff. So I gotta like be careful about what I do, and I had to play both ways. I had to play both ways that year too. So I was definitely like, I could have definitely got hurt and something would have happened, and I would have been SOL. So thank God, I took care of myself like I was supposed to, and I didn't suffer an injury. But that's, people got to look out for, like, they have to know when the red flags are in certain situations and such. Because in my opinion, if I were to get hurt, man, I would have been highly pissed that she slid down the step and broke her foot, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh God.
So so that's something I wouldn't even think about, is the insurance aspect. Maybe just me being like more at the fan at this point. I haven't played since high school, and it's been a minute. And I've never, up until a few years ago, didn't realize international scene was even a thing, which is still its own conversation. Which, by the way, Devion, as we're recording it, I saw that tweet with talking D2, D3, NIA getting coverage. Those guys need to, talk about the small side of things, just, not like the U.S. has a problem with just knowing that the NFL and NCAA exists and everything else doesn't matter already, but, that's its own thing to worry about. But I would have never thought of insurance. Like that's something I'm just like, hey, if I get a spot, like I'll go, and the rest I'll figure out on the fly. And unfortunately, that would probably be one of those things I'd mess up and have to figure out.
Whew, man.
I'll be honest, like going overseas, for my first year, those are things that you start coming up and you start asking around the different people, like, what are things that you ask for, because I don't want to seem like I'm asking for too much, and I'm trying to get a firm grip hold. And that was always one thing. It's like, oh, make sure you get like, your insurance, bus pass or whatever, just so you can travel around. If you go to like bigger teams in Germany, sometimes you have a team car. It's just, it's little things like that. And for, obviously gym membership is always added in, but it makes you think 2 or 3 times before you send this stuff over to teams. Like, all right, I think I need this. All right, if I think I need it, I definitely need it, just to be sure I could throw it on the table and see what happens. But it's like Devion said, it's every team's different. Sometimes teams will be like, yeah, we'll get that for you, and then you won't hear about it again, or you got to make sure that stuff's in the contract in the first place. So sometimes that's where having an overrided type of authority comes in, because I've heard a bunch of horror stories where things are in contracts but they're never given to a person, and things get really messy.
That's not good.
I know.
Sorry, I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but like it's you hate to hear stuff like that.
It is. And as Americans, you kind of have to work your way through it. That's why, whenever we get imports in, my number one rule, I tell all of them, is like, you always look out for each other as Americans, because the team's always going to make decisions based for themselves so they can survive tomorrow. So that's kind of the brotherhood that you kind of get overseas a little bit.
It's fair. See, I mean, it's a strong community. Like I base a lot of my stuff on Twitter, because that's my main stomping grounds. It's where I interact with most people, both of yourselves there. And it seems like it's pretty well knit. You meet someone there and they know, and then they can talk about that. And it, everyone seems to connect that way, no matter what team it's at. It's still Europe. It's still, in that general continental area, and clubs are still going to be looking for a certain amount of players, at least across the pond from your country. So, definitely. Completely get that. But yeah, I know I kind of asked on like just kind of preparation. Is there like, do you know if any website has like a guide or anything, like tips and things, like maybe Euro players or something like that? I know there's like Tales from Sports, that Twitter account's talking about they're making the I'm going to
Josh
say
Davis.
the Josh Davis advice kind of like message center on their website. But I mean, I guess that's my question. Is there anything before that that's been that case? Because that would help, I feel like, a ton too. At least another step in that direction.
Usually somebody would ask someone with the experience, like overseas, because I know a lot of people would ask me about certain stuff, like what will go in a certain direction if a team were to do this or whatever. I know I would look at a lot of guys' contracts whenever they would ask or a team would want them, and this wasn't like just me being nosy. It was just like out of help, because guys were just getting offers and didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Like, I don't know if y'all remember this, but there was this Potsdam Royals scam going on, and guys didn't know that they were getting scammed. Like, they were getting sent fake contracts. And then there was another one where another X-League contract was like getting sent around. It was fake. So
don't be forgetting about the Australian League too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that too.
Oh.
So it's like, guys they would usually hit up somebody who's been like overseas, because I know a lot of dudes like message me when it comes to stuff like that. But sometimes I didn't know what to tell these guys. I mean, because it's kind of sad that there wasn't a source to actually answer any kind of questions or anything that pertains to what a guy should do if he has any questions or if he's in any situation.
Right.
Because it's kind of messed up. Because I mean, like I said, like, I don't know who said it, one of y'all said it, but we have to fend for ourselves at the end of the day. Like, this isn't like someone here to hold our hands. Like, some guys say they have quote unquote agents when they're not an agent. They're just using you for money, in my opinion. But but like, they say they have guys like, representing you and whatnot. But in reality, that ain't the case, because the guys who are selling you to these teams have no idea what the hell they're doing themselves. So there was no type of source that will help anybody before Taylor Sports or whatever. Yeah. And it was sick, because seeing those guys get scammed was kind of like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
yeah,
paying $1,000 to who? For a visa? No. No.
What?
Yeah.
Did you really not hear about that?
I that one I missed. I mean, I've heard some of the stuff you're talking, but like,
man,
I missed that one.
It was nuts. It was so crazy.
Every I'd say about a year or every other year, there's always some sort of like guide that comes out that kind of helps people. Like, all right, for your contract, make sure you ask for these things or that.
Yeah.
When I was in Germany, we did a video on that, just because me and our QB at the time kept getting so many questions every single time, and on Instagram, like every week, it's like, hey, what do you guys like? Can you help me? It's like, yeah, but we didn't put out a video. But I'll show my age for a couple seconds. But right when I was looking at going overseas, it's probably about 2012. On Europlayers, they used to have like an old video. Sorry, Dom, but Dom Cagle from back in like 2012, he used to play for Seinäjoki Crocodiles in Finland. He did an awesome video kind of showing like how to reach out to teams and how to structure stuff and how to basically get to the point to get a contract, and then how to look out for sketchy ones. Like I was telling Devion a couple of years back, they were trying to set up like a elf type of league in Australia, because they're going to be like trying to make it like a brand new, professional league out in Australia. It was a huge scheme, and that blew up in people's faces. But a bunch of coaches flew down there, players flew down there. Like, where the hell do we go? And they're like, shh.
Oh, wow. Oh my, that's bringing me flashbacks to the National Gridiron League this past year. That whole debacle in Fort Wayne. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I think it was called like the Australian Gridiron League or something like that.
It was a gridiron. It was an Australian Gridiron League.
It's just a trap to put gridiron in. Like, just don't. If you see anything with a G, that just stands for gridiron in your name.
What are we doing this on, Mr. Gridiron Gallery? Jesus,
this is going to get released. I will hold my word. You are not wasting your time on here. I swear to God.
Oh. But no, I mean, guys got to be careful. But like the best resource, obviously, like Devion said, you just got to ask other people. And yes, you will get some dudes that are kind of up in their own egos, but most of us are pretty chill. We'll go out of our way to help guys and try to give them, like, for example, this year I had actually a kid I used to coach in high school. He just signed with the team in Italy, and he's like, is this normal? I'm like, yeah, everything looks good. All right. So I think it's very much kind of like a mentorship to some degree. Guys got to help out each other. And when I was in Poland my first year, I reached out to a lot of dudes and be like, is this how teams, is it like normal how they treat people? Most of the time it was no. But
golly.
But
Well,
man,
then.
it is.
Oh man. Oh man.
But using each other, it's always good. It's just you kind of get a front row seat. A lot of areas.
Yeah. Sounds like my first year.
Good to have connections. Oh, well, I guess. Hey, how was your first year then? If you're opening, if you want to open that door, I mean, that makes me curious. Like, you get questions now, but obviously you had to then ask them at some point. So, for at least both of you, I mean, either way, like,
I mean,
Devion and I were in the same league, but we never played.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, man, my first year was, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was a blast. But the thing was, I started seeing, but yeah, you were in that. Yeah, you was with I forgot, it was 2018. Yeah. But the first year it was so competitive. So it was like it was just a lot of, it was that year was fun, but also what happened with the Rhinos was crazy. But what also happened with my team, the Rebels, it was nuts because my quarterback got hurt and he ended up breaking something in his, like, well, he ended up being like a cast or something. And it was a problem about insurance or whatever. So they couldn't help him rehab here. So he had to go home. Oh. And it was nuts, man. It was crazy. But that, I mean, regardless of what happened, man, it was a fun year, but I was just so blind to a lot of the stuff that happened. And I didn't realize I got used. I didn't get used. Like, it wasn't a bad thing, man. I don't regret my time.
How much the conversions was?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, that will hurt you.
Oh God, I forgot I told you about that. Hey, so man. Yeah, man. So, like, man, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't. Like, it was nobody treated me bad. I didn't have no racial issues in. It was just my ignorance. My first time going overseas, man. I played for $100. And it was like, what the hell?
What?
I didn't know that. So, but listen, because I don't know, man. Like, thank God, they ended up paying me so much more my second year there.
That's good.
I went to Brazil and I had a little fiasco out there with Juventude FA, and then I came back to Rebels in 2020, and they treated me well. But this is when it started. This is when it started getting rocky because of COVID. I was there from February all the way till this year. So, okay, I'm going into my third year. This is when I started seeing stuff like get wild. And this is when I learned, like, okay, maybe they're kind of nuts for real. But a lot of the original guys, I still have good contact with them. But when you out there for a while, as a player, you get old to them for real. Like, apparently I think they get tired of the same face, and it's time for somebody else to be in their shoes. So I feel like my first year to now. First year was a blast until I found out I got finessed out of the money. But, as the years progressed, I started seeing, like, man, the first year wasn't as bad as I thought compared to how I got treated now. So I can't believe I told Zac that. That's crazy.
You told me that.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
You got your first payday. You start looking like, how much y'all get? And then he tell you, like, wait.
Yeah, I looked at DeAndre. I said, bro, I was like, this is a lot, right? He was like, bro, you stupid. I'm like, what? Yo, what? What is going on, bro? So, man, I was blown, man. I'm over here playing both ways for Oh God!
Both ways too.
I was playing two, man. I was
What?
playing both ways for $100, and I'm like, what the hell?
God.
Well,
I'm so sorry.
I ain't never told nobody that publicly before, but sheesh, man, my first year was a struggle, man.
I am so sorry.
That was a struggle, man. That was a huge struggle.
Jesus, and we're complaining in the arena community with the NAL doing Ironman rules, but even then their base pay made more than that for 2 ways.
Jesus,
God.
yeah, exactly. Like overseas pays more, but man, you with that. But if you ignorant, that teams out there will get you, so they'll take advantage. Like overseas teams will take advantage of you if you don't know what you're doing out there. So you just got to look for you. Like you said, you got to fend for yourself, bro. Yeah.
To kind of add on to, I mean, what Devion was alluding to. 2018 was like the first year that Poland kind of got together, like their what was the initials then? I don't remember.
The PLFA.
PLFA. Yeah. So that was like the very first year they kind of put everybody together, and they were trying to be really professional that year. And so
the PLFA and the LFA had the LFA had like left the PLFA, so there was two different leagues at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were in the LFA, and so it's kind of like the ELF the first year. Everyone was trying to piece together a league, and they're just like, well, I guess this will work. And you can't really fault the team because hey, first year you get it. And so they really leaned heavily on the Americans to kind of give everybody a good show essentially.
I see.
So when I got there, they literally picked me up from the airport. It's my first time overseas from Warsaw. I'm looking around. I'm seeing graffiti, and I'm like, oh dang, this is European life. And so I'm just, my mind's blown. And they literally picked a large 6'3", 275-pound man, picked me up. I was like, we go. I was like, oh, okay. Hop in the car, and they just dropped me off into a flat, and I see your quarterback walk out of his room. He's like, hey man, what's going on? I was like, is this normal? He's like, no, it's not. And I didn't know what normal was over the seas. So I was like, I don't know, what the hell do I do? And luckily I had a really good quarterback then. I think he's since retired, but just super helpful. Really just took time out of his day to kind of acclimate, me and our other import. But long story short, I ended up bringing in a safety who he played in the GFL, and then our quarterback, he played a little bit in Finland, but all over Poland. And long story short, after our first game, they both left for other leagues.
Wow. And
I was like, guys, what the hell happened?
Anybody coming? We recruiting now? What's going on?
They're like, yeah, we're tired of this crap. We're tired of being lied to, so we're leaving. I'm like, what?
Oh, okay.
And that's when I started thinking to myself. I was walking home one night from the store. I started thinking, I was like, man, I'm alone by myself. If I get kidnapped, I am done. No one's gonna find me for a while. I started getting paranoid, but no, it was a good life lesson. It kind of made me think, all right, these teams are out for themselves because as they should be. It's business. I understand. And, some teams just have more of the family aspect. Some teams are more professional, and you learn those lessons right away, whether you like it or not. But
it kind of feels like it's kind of a crash, kind of like a reality check, the way you put it that way, just a heads up, you're still helping for a product you're putting out there, not everyone's going to be buddy with you.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Gotta watch for number one sometimes too. So.
True.
I mean,
yeah, all these Americans, like I say, they got to look out for each other. And that's kind of, that seems to be the constant theme through every place I've been. So it's nothing nefarious or anything, but like Devion said, unless you're going to have a body that's going to keep these teams in check, that's going to be how it is. It's typical.
Yeah. We're a very fascinating time with, and you guys know this even more so than I just me more watching across the ocean, I guess, but we're in a very fascinating time for the sport, it seems, over there. And next 5 years might be very telling as to where we're all heading with that, and how it transforms, and how how players kind of relate with those out there, what leagues are going to be on top, if not, one league to rule them all will be at the end of the day, from what it looks like too. Just, we'll see. We will find out soon enough. And, guys like both yourselves will be at least right on that front line talking and getting those experiences, better or worse, if you will.
Yeah.
Is there any, we kind of touched on like medical and like housing, like, and for trying to build something maybe as a resource, or like trying to get tips, is there anything else you'd want to add in that like maybe this should be something that teams need to get better at, or like players should know about right off the gate?
Yeah.
Like if you're jumping into a country,
Yeah. Players got to be aware of these sneaky teammates you got. Like,
okay.
I say that because, everybody isn't for you. So it's like kind of scary, because at the same time, they could say you can be welcome whole arms open and whatnot, and the next thing you know, they'll end up pulling some fishy stuff, so some funny business. So it was crazy. It's crazy that you asked that, because players don't understand that a lot of people in these countries haven't seen different ways of life and different types of people.
Okay.
I say that because I don't even know how to explain it, but people are gonna have their own opinions about where you came from and what you do, and but people are gonna also have they're gonna have their stereotypes as well. So, I think it's important that players got to understand that it's not like the U.S. People overseas are living very much different than how you are living. Like, as a person, color your skin, size, shape, all that. Like, they're gonna, and they don't have any issues telling you how you feel, or telling you how they feel. So they need to really watch out for stuff like that, because again, if they like you, then they're gonna keep their mouth shut, or just do try to let you fit in or something. But if they don't, then they'll just try to switch up on you quick. And I think Zac he ended up dealing with that this past season, and it's crazy, because it don't only happen to players, but it happens to coaches too.
Oh.
Teams switch up quick, and it's strange, because everybody has different views of everybody, but at the end of the day, I use Zac as an example, because Zac he's not allowed. He's not loud. He's kind of by himself. He likes to, just do him. And people, and the team didn't understand that. And so that led me to say the reason why I think people should
understand that.
Yeah. Everybody doesn't understand. Everybody's different. They have different personalities and whatnot. And every coach isn't the same either. You're not gonna get a coach that's gonna yell. You're not gonna get a coach that's gonna be quiet. Everybody's just different. But in some situations, you're gonna run into a lot of people on these teams who are just blunt, or either just sneaky about how they feel about you. And so I feel like that's actually what happened to both of us this past season. But it's like I said, it just depends on who you surround yourself with. But you also just got to be careful. Players and coaches got to be careful about everybody that they speak to. Because every handshake isn't true. And everybody isn't real. They're not a real people. They're not a real person of interest of who you are. So
kind of
players got to. It's just on another level of strange, in my opinion, because I saw it firsthand when he was there, and I saw it happen again this past season. So it's hard to trust, just anybody now. So it's weird.
Yeah. So kind of another level of player to the watch out for yourself type thing, you know,
Yeah.
maybe like bullet point A and B, if you will, I guess.
Yeah. So it's a strange, it's a really strange thing. Like, especially when you come over here, because players don't know anything about these people that they're about to play with. So
Yeah, it's you're gonna, you know, from a coaching perspective, you're gonna face a lot of different issues. It's not about just dealing with, you know, if you're a coordinator strictly, it's a little bit different because you got a head coach that can kind of be a buffer and help you along. But
Sure.
if you're a head coach / coordinator, you are fighting multiple battles. You're fighting, you know, you're fighting kids with an experience who are just probably just playing the game for a couple years, and then you're also fighting some of the older guys who are like, well, this is the way we've always done it, and it works, even though it may not work. And then you're also fighting a couple different battles with the board because they're like, we want you to do this, and you're like, well, you know, I have success with that. And so there's a lot of different, like, obviously you know, I expect that you're always dealing with people, and that's fine, but you know, there's always, you know, you're kind of naive because you go into these teams like, all right, you know, they want the same as what I want the same for the team. You just want to win, and you want to leave kind of your mark on the team so they can kind of have a springboard to whatever they want to do. But, you know, there's a lot of like Devion said, there's kind of like people playing two roles, and you got to be a good judge of character, good judge of personality, just to kind of have a chance almost, at least for coaches. Because it's not easy, trust me.
yeah,
Keep your wits
definitely not
about
easy.
you and everything, you know.
Definitely.
Keep your wits
Yeah.
about you. You know, Zach, it's not the first time I've heard like a case where it's like the board wants something different than the coaching. Like success isn't like I've heard it. Like I had a conversation with Stan Bedlow earlier this year where it's like, you know, you can have success, but like sometimes it's about the style of the success, which is strange to me. Like, you know, he was talking a story on how he ran at one point a purely air raid offense in one of the places he was coaching at, like almost completely no running. And and disagreements led up to him moving on because they were concerned about the fact that they weren't running the football.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay, fine, but that shouldn't get in the way of this if you're still in a winning record and everything, you know?
It's funny about that because we had that same issue my first year in Germany. So we ended up going like 9-3, and we were riding to one of our games, and I remember we were kind of more of a run first, you know, pass second type team, and it was kind of funny because we were on the bus going there, and I remember someone said, it's like, well, you know, it's great we're winning all these games, but you're not winning the right way. Like, what's that supposed to mean?
Get out of here.
What?
Oh, it's not flashy enough. You don't want to
God.
entertain. Like, geez.
What is this, college football? Like, Power 5, college CFP voting type of stuff?
It's like
not winning the right way. What in the world? Never heard that.
Last I checked, there isn't a dude on the sidelines holding up like a freaking card number to tell me how I'm doing. You know, got 7 points. Oh, that was only 6. It was so boring.
I mean, that's stuff's going to happen. I mean, you're always going to have some sort of critics, and like, well, I mean, that's always the character of boards across Europe. You know, they're going to have their own. You know, they always bring in over coaches, and they have their own idea of maybe just how these things should be ran. But I think it's important to find a good team. And then I know it sounds like we're probably bashing teams, but we're really not. There's some great.
I ain't bashing. I haven't named nobody.
I mean,
no one's incriminating you.
I haven't named nobody.
I've heard. I mean, I've also talked to you. Like besides you guys, I've talked to others too. You know, there's great experiences out there. It's just I hate. It sucks when you have like that select few that then bring the stories out and make it worse for others.
I don't want people to be like, "Oh my god, you guys are idiots." You guys are but no, it's
blackball you and you. You're done.
Put me on I'm already on a couple of lists. Put me on there too. It's like, don't talk to him.
I'll ask you for tips. I'm new. I'll be new to it. Hey.
Well, so I mean, to be honest, I'm already blackballed from the Rebels anyway, so I don't care. No, I don't care.
Are you?
I'm already blackballed from them anyway, so.
You say that so casually, like that's kind of a surprise to me.
Because like, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. They got like I faced more backlash when I put out those screenshots of what the dude said to me than actual like them telling him he was wrong. And so I faced a lot of bull crap, like, man. But I can't say. But there are teams who are interested in Poland, but I can't say anything about that. But yeah, man, I'm blackballed. I'm pretty sure I'm blackballed from that organization, big time. So I don't care, man.
And honestly, like, and it's funny because this is, people laugh and stuff, but this is actually a thing. Like, a lot of us after a season is over with, like, there's always going to be critics and we'll be like, oh, this guy didn't do this, he didn't do that, so don't hire him. There's just so much chatter in the backgrounds where
my God. Yeah. You know what? Let's talk about that.
Devion faces
okay.
it. I mean, this is nothing new.
Let's talk about that, because I know a lot of people that goes on with. I know I can name at least 30 people. Let's talk about this right quick. Zach, let's talk about this.
Okay. Entertain me, please. You've piqued my interest even further than it already has been piqued.
Because look, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. There is so many people, like these league presidents, they talk and whatnot, like the organization, like everybody talks or whatnot, but a lot of them don't like some of them. But I know for a fact my name was getting thrown around a few times when I left for Romania, because apparently I was like, my contract ended. I mean, I'm just go ahead and tell you what it was. My contract ended, and he basically didn't promise me anything for next season. He said he didn't, like, he talked to everybody else about 2022, but he never talked to me about it. So and this is the team president. So I started talking to teams in Poland. And I'm like reaching out, and it's still early in the process, so like we don't know what we're gonna do for next season. So all right, so I stay in contact with teams. So somebody relayed the message back to him. This is when I found out everybody talked. So this is like, I knew they talked, but I didn't know they talked this much. So everybody sent him like the screenshot, the team president, the screenshot of me talking to him, to like the other teams. Okay. And I guess I don't know why this is such a big deal that I do it, because everybody else does it, but I guess because I was with the Rebels for 3 years, that he's trying to leave, when they didn't know the real reason why I had to leave. And I wasn't like I didn't leave on my own, but he basically told me to slide. Basically, like, he was like, yeah, I underperformed and all this stuff, and he just created this narrative when I underperformed as a player, and that's just basically the narrative of it, when in reality, if you look at the tape, that is a damn lie. So I'm not gonna get into that, but it's like, after that happened, I started getting like there was other teams telling me, like, and this isn't just Poland either. This is like there's some other teams, like other local countries around it, that like apparently I'm an unprofessional guy, and I'm not really as good because I had 0 interceptions. And yeah, I didn't have no interceptions this past season because like I played in the box, and teams, I only got like 2 passes thrown my way the whole season. So, and I dropped 1 interception, and I caught 1 out of bounds, so I really didn't get none. So it was crazy. But my name was just getting thrown around, and I'm like, yo, my contract ended. Like, I have a right to talk to other teams, because I'm looking for a job now. Like, so you get I got blackballed for something that you're normally supposed to do, which is look for another job when someone is not showing interest. So, right. I mean, it's just out of jealousy or something. But I could talk about that now.
Yeah, and you'll get that with a lot of people. I mean, coaches go through the same thing too, whereas like teams would create narratives to be like, yeah, we let him go because this happened or that happened. Like,
yeah,
they gotta like justify in their head, like, oh yeah, that's why we did this. It's like, okay, whatever. And then
players got to watch out for that, man.
Yeah, but then you go to the next team, they're like, well, we didn't have this issue. And then you go to the next team, same thing. It's like, oh no, see, what the hell's going on? So
exactly.
you face all, the friendships and relationships you make over there, they're second to none. You get a firsthand education, it being the places you're at, and regardless of all the crap off the field, it's still an awesome experience regardless. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of what Devion was alluding to before, is like how Americans are so kind of blind to overseas stuff, but it's like once you kind of get settled in and experience everything, the culture, and get to know people with different language, it's awesome.
Yeah.
For you guys, it's the world, at least the part of the world travel portion to me is what makes me kind of jealous as a person back home. Like I've been to Europe to a few places, but I haven't been in several years. And I'm like, that to me is awesome. If you get a good spot, you get to play, in a different country, you're exploring the world a little bit. Not everyone gets to have that chance in their youth to go out of the country and kind of see new things, experience new things, new flavors, new people, different ways of life. So that's the positive angle to it too.
No doubt.
That I find is pretty awesome for
Right.
guys like yourselves,
Yeah. I mean, Devion's been doing it for about 12 years now, so he gets the whole world in his hands. So
What the hell? No, man, it's only been 4 years. It's the same 4 years. What the heck?
Does it feel like 12? That's
It feels like it. This year makes it add another 6 years on it.
To be fair,
Golly.
like it's kind of like it's kind of like cat years. You almost like double it. You almost have to double it almost. So instead of 4 years, more like 8 to everybody else.
Getting the context. There's the context there.
Oh my
telling
goodness.
you, just if you're recruiting players, like guys been overseas for like 3 or 4 years, like that's a veteran. I mean, that's like NFL veteran of like 10 years, because there's no acclimation period. They're like, all right, what do we do? When's practice? Cool, sweet, and they're there.
Yeah.
So you get that a lot of times, and a lot of times you get these newbies are overseas. They're like you see them all happy and just like, yeah, what do we do? What's going on? Man. And then like after like a month, they're like, I miss home.
That happy period, if a veteran looks at you, like, you're gonna learn real quick, aren't you?
Exactly. It's like, oh, you got a whole world ahead
Oh
of you.
yeah. Oh my God. That happened this season. That happened this season. I was like, holy crap. It was a mess. Oh man.
Good God.
Jesus Christ.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show, and just for the insight. I hope this this is another step in just kind of like keeping that conversation, like we're talking, with just changing kind of the perspective, and at least getting some situations to improve, and also maybe some more tools and resources for players and maybe even coaches to help along with, because it just sounds like more and more, especially after this past year with the ELF being such a big new factor to this, that things eventually have to start being moving in that direction, or will have to. So thank you very much for contributing, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all, man.
Where can we find both of you? I know Zach's got a freaking YouTube channel that's pushing 1.6 thousand followers right now. So and he's got like plenty of he's got this awesome series. Looks like cultural shocks of Germany, or like German questions.
And Devion's got like 15,000 Instagram followers. So we all right. We kind of even each other out.
It's 5,000.
See, okay, I see what's going on. So Zach's the hype man, and you're just trying to be humble about it.
You see what I'm saying? You get Devion worked up a little bit, man. He's goofy. He's fun. But yeah, I got a YouTube channel as well. Just type in Zac and all my cultural stuff, vlogs, game day vlogs, stuff like that, and also got a podcast, Maple Glazed podcast, with my buddy Murph, who's part Canadian. So we got that.
Nice name too. Kind of, I like that. Nice touch.
Your turn, Devion.
Yeah, I mean, especially Davey. I mean, lately you've been much more of a, it seems like a focal point voice kind of for players anyway too, when it comes to Twitter, Instagram. So definitely want to see where people can find you, because I mean you have your own thoughts.
Yeah, definitely on first is on Twitter, area 13. And my Instagram is _DUYOU24. So definitely that. My two main sources, and I don't really use Facebook much anymore because I have police on there, not real police, but feds and people go watch. So I don't use Facebook no more much unless it was my personal one. But Twitter and Instagram, my main two, Area 13 and _DYOU DYOU24 Instagram. So there you go.
Can I also add to, Devion is really good with just hooking guys up and make sure just for wisdom and for overseas tips and stuff like that. He's been doing that for 2 years or so.
Yeah.
3 years.
Feels like 17 though.
Now it's 17.
Not that long, man. Chill out.
I've been over here too long. I feel.
Come on, dude. Which one is it? Let's keep consistent on.
So you're going to complain about your sciatica.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Again, if you're a player listening or watching this, if you're a kind of one of the reps that's coming out, definitely hit up Devion, or a veteran like his stats for a few years, like we talked on the show. Definitely get some tips. Reliable sources we're learning, and as we say on here, it's good to have connections and reliable connections with that.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks again. Really appreciate it. We'll hopefully we can catch up later on. I'll keep in touch. We'll keep in touch.
Awesome.
The Gridiron Gallery podcast. New episodes every Friday on your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, and premiering first, as always, at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, only on unhingedsn.com.